Deflategate, tailgates, and supersized milkshakes. It can only be America, and it can only be the NFL. Some things have hardly changed since the Patriots' record-breaking comeback against the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl 51. Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have another ring each, with the Patriots unsurprisingly coming into the new season once again as favourites. Then there's the new, another class of highly anticipated draft rookies carrying all sorts of expectations on their shoulders. But despite the on-field excitement, there's plenty of other reasons to believe this season may be like no other. When the first kickoff sails through the air in Boston, it's hard to ignore the bigger picture affecting the United States at the moment. Florida is bracing itself for what is one of the most powerful Category 5 storms ever recorded. Meanwhile, Houston is still recovering from one of the worst hurricanes in recent memory, killing at least 35 people, with almost 35,000 forced from their homes. Texans defensive end J.J. Watt is just one of many players in the league to get involved.
And you feel a little bit helpless. You know, we got guys here who are seeing their families back home, who have young kids, who have wives, and they can't get back there. And it's a helpless feeling, so I want to do whatever we possibly could. And I knew that I wanted to get out in front of it quick. In a situation like this, you want to start raising the money as quickly as you can, because I know that these recovery efforts are going to be so massive.
His efforts have already raised almost $30 million. And of course, the Texans will play their season opener at the NRG Stadium on Sunday afternoon. Because, well, it's America. But for the NFL, there's another storm brewing much closer to home. In July, the latest study into the brain injury known as CTE was released, showing an indisputable link between the disease and the football field. It was already the biggest thorn in the sports side, and it may be about to bury itself even deeper. And then, as if the NFL needed a cherry for their cake, former San Francisco quarterback Colin Kaepernick's Anthem protests are still leaving a sour taste.
Your San Francisco quarterback, I'm sure nobody ever heard of him. It's reported that NFL owners don't want to pick him up because they don't want to get a nasty tweet from Donald Trump. Do you believe that?
That tweet may be a while coming, because Kaepernick is yet to be drafted by an NFL franchise, and it's looking increasingly unlikely that he will. But in his absence, a raft of other players have taken up the cause, and have shown intent to raise fists, kneel, or pray during the national anthem, to highlight injustices and division within American society. The stars and stripes will still fly, footballs will still be thrown, and fans will continue to flock. Because after all, America's game is simply too popular to take a step back.
Well, plenty of talking points both on and off the field. And let's bring in our NFL expert, Ada Ochal, who's in New York for us. Ada, so much to talk about. Let's go through the stuff going on in the United States at the minute. Not all of it good news. Is this somewhat dampened spirits ahead of the NFL season?
Well, it definitely is dampened spirits across the country, but in the past, when we've seen these kind of disasters and these kind of things affect the United States, how the people have healed is through entertainment and through sports. So for the NFL season to start now, it will really unite a lot of the country through their love of the sport. And we have seen the effects. There is a game between Miami and Tampa that was scheduled to be played this week, but will be postponed to week 11 due to the effects of possibly Hurricane Irma. And of course, our thoughts are with those being affected by Harvey and Irma.
Absolutely, Ada. Now, let's move on. As Darian, there's a report previously just mentioned, CTE. How much are the players still thinking about that? I mean, there is evidence now that it's there. There was evidence a year ago, but there's more now. Is that still lingering in the players' minds, or is it something that's just been a bit swept under the carpet?
Oh, it has to be, but at the end of the day, these players are being compensated handsomely to play a game that they are agreeing to play to. So I'm sure a lot of them will say, I'll take my chances on the field. But you've seen examples of players that decided to walk away from the game. John Urschel is a perfect example. He decided, and this happened days after this study came out, the latest study from the New York Times, he said, I'm done. I don't want to play football at the NFL level anymore. I'm going to go and complete my PhD in mathematics, and that's exactly what he's doing. So we have seen examples of players walk away from the game at the highest level due to these studies that are coming out that CTE is a very real thing.
Well, Oda, let's go on to the football now. Belichick and Brady hunting their 6th Super Bowl ring after the greatest comeback we've ever seen in Super Bowl history. Should we just give the Patriots the title straight away, or is anyone going to challenge them?
I think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to come out of the AFC, Lance. It's almost like people are betting on the fact that the Patriots are going to be 16-0 and the Jets are going to be 0-16. I really think that this year it's the Patriots Super Bowl to lose, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the NFC. But the biggest threat to me is the Houston Texans, because I believe that they were the ones that gave the Patriots, at least in the playoffs, the biggest defensive fits. And with J.J. Watt back in the lineup, you got to wonder if all the defensive pieces are still there with the Texans. You got to wonder how they will stack up against that Patriots offense and if they will have enough to pull it off.
Well, you mentioned the NFC has been far tougher to predict over the years. Are you calling an upset there? Is that what you're saying?
In the NFC, I mean, it's wide open in terms of who can come out of there. Of course, you got to give props to the big quarterbacks that are playing in the NFC. The New York Giants will be very interesting. Can Odell Beckham exceed 2,000 passing yards? I mean, this is a conversation that we're having with one of the most charismatic players in the league. Can Odell and Eli combine for over 2,000 yards passing and him break that record? I think it stands at 1,964 right now. But there's a lot of interesting storylines out of the NFC. There's no clear-cut winner. And really, the Atlanta Falcons, I mean, the head coach of the Falcons talked with personnel from the Cleveland Indians, Steve Kerr of the Golden State Warriors, just on how to understand coming back from such a devastating loss in a championship. So you got to wonder what the Falcons are going to do this year as well.
And Oda, the moment you've been waiting for, give me 2 teams that are going to be in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to hold you to it at the end of the year.
I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet to say the Patriots and Cowboys. If Dak Prescott is for real at quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and Ezekiel Elliott, even despite the suspensions, is able to perform, it's very likely you see those 2 teams in the Super Bowl, Lance.
Okay, Oda, great talking to you. Now, so as we heard a little earlier, another major talking point coming into the new season are the Anthem protests. With or without Colin Kaepernick, to help us delve into the issue a little more, I'm joined by David Alter, who's a sports journalist out in Toronto. David, whether or not Colin Kaepernick signs for any franchise this season, is the 2017 season already going to be remembered as that Colin Kaepernick stand and him being left out?
I think it's certainly going to be one of the big talking points of this season, in addition to many things. But yeah, I mean, you're seeing more and more players, as you mentioned in that report there, taking up the cause. More players are showing their support for Colin Kaepernick by kneeling during the anthem, by praying, by doing all different kinds of things. It's going to be interesting to see also if the NFL chooses to kind of ignore it and Colin Kaepernick doesn't get another shot, or if a team is actually going to take a chance and bring him up in perhaps a backup quarterback position.
David, granted, Collins lost a bit of form, but he was a star when he came in. I remember watching him tear up defenses, running and passing. Why isn't he being drafted even to the not as big sides as well, going into the NFL? There must be a reason.
Well, the reason is, whether any NFL owners are going to come out publicly or not, is because of the divide, because of the protests. It's a polarizing issue in the United States, just as everything in the United States is polarizing right now. But that is the tiebreaker for why he doesn't have a team to play for right now, because he had struggled. He was struggling when he came out with this protest and he started doing this. And all things equal in life, when you're going for a job and you're going for anything and your employer is going to look at many different candidates, if he was a star and his talent could carry him, a team would take a chance because winning means everything. But because he's in a backup spot right now because of his struggles, you take him and all the other candidates equal, and they're going to say, look, all things equal, I'm going to take the guy who's going to give me less problems from a business standpoint. Because it's just problems that Colin Kaepernick right now is just not good enough to carry along with him, which is why all 32 teams are avoiding him right now. It's a sad reality, but that's what's happening right now.
But what he's standing for has gathered a lot of momentum. It started way back when Kaepernick first took a knee. Now other players are doing it. Do you think this is going to gather more and more momentum as the season goes on?
I think it could. If you're seeing more and more players step up, it's going to be about the NFL. Right now, they're trying to kind of ignore this as an issue, but you're seeing in Florida, there are police departments right now saying that they are not going to go to games and provide the same service that they provided if they're going to see these protests towards officers happening at games. You're seeing all kinds of issues right now. The NFL's stance on this is just to kind of ignore it and hope it goes away. In the preseason, it's been an issue, but we haven't seen what happens when the national cameras are on it right now and how they're going to do it. A lot of the big partner broadcasters have said if they see players kneeling, they're going to cover it like anything else. You're not going to protect it. So if the momentum grows, the NFL may feel compelled to step in. But right now, they have no idea what to do and are just trying to stay away and hope it goes away. I don't think it's a smart thing, but it remains to be seen now with the public eye, once week 1 rolls, how the NFL is going to step in and try and resolve this, because there clearly are no answers right now.
Yeah, damned if they do, damned if they don't. What do you think the fans will think about this? I mean, if this continues to grow, if players keep going against the NFL, kneeling during the anthems, do you think this might turn some fans away? With all the CTE stuff we've had last year, was the NFL just simply too big?
I think the NFL is too big. There will be fans that turn away. But look, I mean, the NFL is kind of running into their issue as being so big that they have to keep growing. And if that growth slows, even if they stay big, that's going to create problems business-wise. So fans are going to be turned off. But right now, it's a matter of what can the NFL do that's going to minimize the amount of fans are going to lose, because you can argue there's one side of fan base that is traditional, that is, served in the military or has lots of money and they're season ticket holders, and that demographic supports them taking a hard stance on the protesters. So maybe they lose some of those fans, but if they come out and support the protesters, they may lose more fans and more of the paying public and the fans that bring in revenue. It's really complex. It's socioeconomic. It's a lot of these different things. But if revenue slows, the NFL is going to have to step in and respond to it. Social media is a big part of it. But there's just no answer until it happens. And the problem with the NFL, as it's been with a lot of other things, like they've been dealing with CTE and whatnot, is they've been very reactionary and never proactive. And this could be bad for them if they are reactionary.
It certainly looks like it could be bad for the NFL if they carry on avoiding it. But we will speak to you again, David, as the season continues. Well, it starts.